Good evening and welcome to News at 10 on the day that Ghana is joining the rest of the world to celebrate International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. I'm Stephen Enti. Let's begin the bulletin with a look at the day's major news highlights. Substance abuse tops the number of cases reported at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Despite the trend, the facility lacks the basic equipment to administer the required treatment. President Akufo-Addo has cautioned the different Muslim sects to be wary of those who profess religious practices which could foment trouble for the country. Speaking at the Eid Fitr celebrations at the Independence Square in Accra, the president charged Muslims to remain steadfast, uphold unity. And still on age, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has assured persons with disability government will factor them in its job creation agenda. The Vice President was at the School for the Blind at Ikropong to celebrate the Eid with the students. The Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is asking the Managing Director of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, BOST, to step aside with immediate effect to allow a full independent investigation into the alleged sale of 5 million liters of contaminated fuel. The investigation is to establish the validity or otherwise of the transaction between the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, BOST, and a company named Movimpina, but BOST says due diligence was conducted before the sale and that it was the best option for Ghana in terms of revenue. "52 migrants have been found dead in the deserts of central Niger near Seguedin. A group of 75 set out in 3 vehicles but were abandoned by traffickers who feared the security forces. A local official told the BBC that dozens of bodies had been buried and 23 survivors were taken to the town, although one later died. African migrants travel through the desert aiming to reach Libya and cross the Mediterranean to Europe. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook and on 3news.com. Up next is the big one. Welcome back. Now, the 2017 UN World Drug Report has named Ghana as one of the African countries most frequently reported as countries of origin of cannabis. In the following report, my colleague Portia Gabo examines why people grow cannabis and smoke it.
They don't often allow people from outside into their inner circle, but for these cannabis farmers, giving us access into their world was an opportunity to add their voice to the ongoing debate in Ghana on whether to either legalize or decriminalize the use of cannabis. Kofi has been growing cannabis in Ghana for the past 15 years. What led you into this?
I think it's just economics on it. Yeah, because after going through the various opportunities that we have, especially the immediate ones, and looking at the opportunities that are available, marijuana seems to stand tall. So,
how good is this business?
It's good because at least it assures me of good income, and I've been able to at least take care of myself. It boosts my livelihood, and especially the immediate dependents.
Why have you decided to do this?
We just farm a small portion of marijuana, but the amount of money you get is very huge.
So in a rainy season, how much money do you make?
Sometimes I'll be getting like 6,000 Ghana cedis within 3 months. Me like this, I'm a student, and I lost my parents during an accident. Right, I was in class 4. And you know, no one is there to care for me. So that the money I used to pay some of my school fees.
We, Ganja, Abonsamtawa, meaning the devil's tobacco, One Love, these are few street names for cannabis in Ghana. But why has a plant like cannabis generated so much controversy?
It makes people become active, they can become aggressive, they can become violent. It initially gives you a certain feeling of high. You feel happy, you feel content, you feel you have a lot of energy. If you are shy, it can make you quite open, embolden you. But the point is that as you expose your brain to that, then it causes some changes in the brain.
Governments ignored it as a major challenge when cannabis was being grown in the various countries.
For only 1 cedis, one can buy a joint of marijuana.
I used to have some disease here. When I sleep, when I wake up, I leak blood from my nose, and a friend introduced me to herb. I joined her, we smoke it, and when I got to bed, the blood is no more.
Richard Opare is an ex-drug addict. He was for 13 years addicted to marijuana and now works as an internationally certified drug counselor at the Addictive Diseases Unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
I heard a voice the first time I took marijuana that told me that I should remove my clothing and run on the streets. I also began to imagine where the Noah's Ark will be. Now, but let's make clauses in our laws where people are given opportunity to rehabilitate themselves when they are caught with marijuana, using marijuana. Let's set up the rehabilitation centers for them. Let's give them the option of facing the law or going to rehabilitate yourself.
Well, I like the ganja story, but substance abuse tops the number of cases reported at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Despite that trend, the facility lacks the basic equipment to administer required treatment. My colleague AC Benewa Nyame has more.
International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking is set aside to create awareness against the dangers that drug abuse poses on society and individuals who abuse drugs. I am here today on such a day at the special ward of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. The special ward at the hospital has the highest number of substance abuse cases. Acting head PR Dr. Amabwedu says the hospital mostly depends on detoxification and other psychotherapies, but ideally a drug analyzer is what is required.
We're having a lot of cases coming in, and then if we had a drug analyzer, we know exactly what we are dealing with. Because for now, sometimes when they come, you'd have to refer them out, and by the time they go and then bring in the results, you don't see anything because of the time that might have elapsed.
The facility again relies on the Pantan Psychiatric Hospital in cases where patients need rehabilitation.
We have a group known as Alcoholic Anonymous, but in recent time it hasn't been very functional. So for now, we do what we can do on OPD basis. And then those that really would have to admit for rehabilitation, we refer them to Pantan.
She expressed disappointment over lack of medication and funds to ensure the provision of quality health care.
Right, let's do some discussions on this. Humphrey Kofi is country facilitator, the Mental Health Leadership and Advocacy Program, and he's also the Executive Director of the Mental Health Society of Ghana. He joins us now. Mr. Kofi, good evening. Thank you extremely. On a day like this, yes. I know that we should both be concerned about how we handle the issues and challenges of substance abuse in our country, but at the same time also think about how to improve facility for the treatment and care of people who are not fortunate to have, falling into overdose drug use and need care and treatment. So what goes on in your mind on a day like this? One, about the problem facing our country and policies and measures that have been put in place to deal with them.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you very much also for your, to your viewers. Let me also say that the issue of drug or substance abuse is become more common in the youth than in adults. And when I talk of the youth, I'm basically referring to especially those in the second cycle institutions who have adapted different means of, different types of drugs, not necessarily the ones that we know. Of course, if you talk about cocaine, we all know about them. But in recent times, the new developments have exposed the types that they have also adapted.
Types like speed?
Exactly. Glue, super glue.
Sniffing glue.
They sniff super glue. I mean, they take them into their stuff and take it to school. And not only that, but even those who are outside the second cycle institutions have adapted some particular alcohol that has the content of these substances. And it is so, I mean, across various places in the country that they have various terminologies that they describe them. And they know, those who take it or are used to it know.
And this you think is getting worrying because now experts are missing out on the conventional drugs people use, because those people who use the drugs are switching to other unconventional drugs.
Certainly.
How should we be dealing with these challenges?
Exactly. So it comes back to the regulatory bodies that are supposed to ensure that some of these things are kept within the light of, within the law, of course, within the, because indeed, if you are looking at seeing somebody smoking, now smoking weed is very common. You can see people
really
smoking. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's
they don't care about it.
And they don't really care whether there is any law that regulates it.
I mean, I live in an area where workers, artisans, carpenters and masons, they take a break from all their hard work and just go and smoke ganja. Wow. And I'm like, that is wow.
That is it. If you, there is a critical mass of people who have also adapted the substance, and these are the guys who are the washing bays. Take a critical look at these guys who work at the washing bay. Take a sample of them and the way they do things. I mean, they take it to do the work, but at any point in time, they leave the work and go back to take it and come back. But these are guys that fantastically would have been able to do more productive work
without drug enhancement.
Exactly.
Now, you watch the story on the psychiatric hospital. Yes. You have been in mental health industry for a number of years. What are your own assessments of the situation at the psychiatric hospital in Accra and other places?
Yeah, of course. Looking at the alarming situation of the statistics that we have, of course, if things are supposed to go well, every psychiatric hospital should have a rehab center for people who have abused drugs, alcohol, etc. Currently, it's only in Pantine that we have a very formalized, I mean, up to speed rehab center that one can go there for about 6 months. They are taken through rigorous activities that finally takes them out. They can become deintoxicated. They go through some medication, and most of them get fine. I mean, it's quite expensive though, but it is still the best way out. Apart from that, counseling in some of these second cycle institutions, counseling in the churches, and etc. could do the trick. But indeed, we don't have what it takes to rehab people who have gone into...
and this should be a government policy. Is mental health treatment covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme?
No, it isn't. It is basically, indeed, we have some of the essential psychotropic medicines on the list, but even those ones are not that which are critical to the needs of people with mental disorders. Because you talk about carbamazepine or lazapine, these are very commonly used psychotropic medicine that ordinarily they should have been enrolled. So one of the advocacies we are doing is that all mental health medicines or psychotropic medicines should be brought on. Because
and would this help?
Yes, it will. At least if for nothing at all, these ones who identify with the hospitals should get some medication free of charge. And by our policy, we are supposed to have free mental health services. But I think that we need to look at that policy again vis-a-vis bringing on board all the medicines for people with mental disorders within the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Interesting. Now, as we discuss marijuana and the other uses of other substances, there are those who have argued constantly over the past years for the decriminalization of marijuana. In other places like the United Kingdom, they've been declassified and now they're recreational drugs. You think that's the way forward for Ghana also, if we're to deal with the use of marijuana?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that we have gotten there yet. I mean, currently that is even outlawed. We are not able to regulate it. We don't have control over it. Like you said, there are non-conventional ways of some of these medicines have even overtaken the conventional ways, so we've lost track of regulating it. Now the laws are outlawing the use of these drugs, but it is becoming alarming even with the law. So if there is no law that regulates it, you can imagine that
you are worried about the consequences.
Certainly.
You think marijuana, no matter what it is, no matter how people want it to be declassified to make it recreational, is dangerous.
Very much so, because I don't think we've gotten there yet, because if you look at the alarming rate at which the youth are getting addicted to this one, and the statistics in the psychiatric hospital, not only in Accra Psychiatric Hospital, the other psychiatric hospitals have almost the same statistics. It's telling you that we are losing touch of the control. We are not able to stay in touch with the realities, because when people suffer psychosis and they lose touch of the reality of life, I mean, it's not going to be that easy to rehabilitate such a person. It will have to go through some serious formal approach or medical approach to ensure that. So if you are even not able to manage as the law states, what would it look like when the law is not there? So we think that we don't need to go there yet.
And let's quickly, before we go, look at the theme for this year's celebration. It says, listen first. Yes. Listening to children and youth is the first step to help them grow healthy and safe. In the context of mental health, what does this really do, or what benefits or advantages does such a theme bring?
Yeah, I think that parents need to listen more to their children. When they are going through some challenges, they need to appreciate what the issues are. Otherwise, they'll be misled by their own peers. I mean, if your parents are not listening to you, and your peers will listen to you, they will listen to you and give you the advice. But if you are a parent,
most of those advice could be wrong.
Certainly so.
And could lead you astray.
Mislead you.
Could make you dependent on drugs
for the rest of
your life. Mr. Kofi, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much extremely for coming. This is still News at 10. We're live on TV3 and we're streaming on our Facebook page and also on 3news.com. We have more news for you. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, news just coming in, very sad news. 10 people have been killed or feared to be dead and several injured in an accident along the Winneba Road this evening. Two vehicles, a Hyundai Grace and a Benz Sprinter bus, were involved in the accident, which occurred around 7:30 p.m. This evening. The Benz Sprinter is registered CR 114714 and the Hyundai Grace registered GW 529613 were both traveling from Accra to Winneba. According to Obapini Abena Nyame of of Media General, our group, who was an eyewitness to the accident, it occurred when the Hyundai was attempting to overtake the Benz Sprinter vehicle. An articulated truck which was coming from the opposite direction to Accra is said to have hit the Hyundai Grace, causing it to collide with the Sprinter. The injured have been sent to the Winneba Hospital for treatment. Let's quickly get onto the telephone lines to speak with an eyewitness who is James. He is a farmer. He is near the accident scene. James, thank you very much for joining us. So what can you tell us about the accident?
Okay, what I know about the accident is, by the way, good evening to all the listeners. It's once again, I just moved from the roadside to buy some food at the junction there. When I got to the junction, I saw a crash of car, 3 cars. We have a pickup, Mercedes-Benz, and then a Hyundai, which is a place just closer to Ochereku and within Ochereku and Porting Junction.
I see. That's very close to Accra then.
It's not close to Accra. It's close to, let's say, after that, it's closer to, let's say, going to Kaswa Road.
That's right.
To Winneba side.
Mm.
So the main place that the incident happened was Ochereku. Let's say Ochereku within the Porting Junction. So what I can see, what I've seen the place was that I saw people lying down all over. So the only thing I can do is to give a call to the police. So I called Winneba police, a certain man there, and he called the patrol team and they rushed to the place. It was there when I met a certain lady and I was explaining how the incidents happened. It was about 15 to 20 minutes. Nobody was coming, car was not going, car was not coming, and nobody was around. So as I did that, and the patrol team came over and they came and saw what was going. They called the fire service from Apam and also many others from Winneba. So we start to remove some of the people from the car. So, but most of them has got dead. You know, just few of them had so much emergency, so they have carried them to the main hospital at Winneba, and some have been also gone to a trauma hospital at Winneba. And so far, this is what I have witnessed this evening around 7:23 this evening.
Right, James, thank you very much for joining us. So if you've just joined us, a very sad accident has occurred on the Ochereku side of the Winneba road. 10 people have lost their life in a very sad incident. I've been joined in the studio by Margaret Odro of Onua FM, who witnessed the accident, the aftermath of it actually, on her way from Obuasi. So Margaret, tell me, I know that it's not very often that you meet such accidents. What did you see?
Okay, I was coming from Obuasi around 7:20 p.m. and I witnessed an accident which caused a very serious traffic between Kaswa and then Kaswa and Winneba Road. So according to eyewitness, it was 2 cars which were involved. Actually, it was 3 cars, but
the third one was the articulated truck and the Hyundai.
Yeah, so it was 2 trucks. There is a Sprinter car and then a Hyundai Grace car. And according to eyewitness and according to people...
So it means you were able to speak to some eyewitness around because you got off from your car. Everybody got down?
Yeah, everyone.
So that's how come you managed to speak to quite some of them. And what really did they say? What we know now is what we've just told our viewers, that the small car, which is the Hyundai, was overtaking the big Sprinter car, and then they collided with the Mercedes-Benz. That appears to be what the eyewitnesses said, right?
Yeah. And so the 2 drivers lost their lives immediately. Instantly. And one...
The 2 drivers, you mean the truck?
The Hyundai Grace
and the Benz?
They lost their lives, and the Sprinter mate too lost his life.
Oh my God.
So it was left with some 2 children who were in the bush, but I learned those 2 children didn't die.
So it's like everybody on the Sprinter died, everybody on the Hyundai died?
No, some were injured.
The Hyundai was one person, just one person, or there were a couple of people?
Yeah, there were a couple of people in that
car. Margaret, we'll leave it here, and thank you very much for coming. Margaret is with the Media General Group here, and she witnessed it on her way from Obuasi. Now let's do some more stories. The Chief Executive Officer of Mikado Holdings, Dr. Michael Ejekum Ado, has advised entrepreneurs and startup businesses to consider manpower as the most important factor in business. Speaking to MBA students from GIMPA, Dr. Ado said money is the last important factor in business, in a business setup. He spoke at the June edition of Time with the Captains.
How many of you agree with him that if you don't have capital, you cannot do business? How many of you agree with him? By hands. So few. Which means that some agree that you can do your business without capital. You know, to do a business, you need about 6 factors. We call it 6 M's. Manpower, machines, materials, money, marketing, and minutes, which is time. Of all the 6, the most important is manpower, and the least important is money. I want to emphasize that money is the least important. You could not supply, because one, you didn't have the connection as to who is making the books available to you. If you had good contacts with him, he would have trusted you enough to give you on credit. The second thing is that the one who is receiving also didn't have confidence in you that, oh, take this money in advance and go and do the deposit. He could have given you the money if he trusted you. For lack of trust, from Accra to Paga, Aflao to Elubo, as a people, we are all poor because we don't trust one another. But money is the least important. So build on your reputation in your small community, in your family, in your church, in your society. If people trust you, trust me, they will give things to you on credit.
Right, so very sound advice there. Build on your reputation. That's how we draw the curtains for news at 10. I'm Stephen Enti. Thanks for staying. There's more news at 3news.com. On behalf of the crew here, good night and Barka da Sallah to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. Good night.